Hey everyone, Tracie here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you how I did a photo shoot for my best friend Aimee and how I edited the photos. So let's go ahead and get started. So Aimee and I have known each other for 15 years now, and recently I went back home and visited and we hung out at a nearby park. And so in the park, it was really beautiful with all kinds of nature around, with a whole bunch of little ducks and geese around. And so we decided to do a little photo shoot there. And so I was giving slight direction on how she should pose, like for instance, laying on the floor, sitting on the rock. And then we further venture through the park and went in the shady area and taking some pictures of her jumping in the air, sitting down, some headshots against the outdoor stage area on the wall, and also some full body shots there as well. So we had a lot of fun doing this mini photo shoot, and now is the time to review all the photos and edit them. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you that in the MOOTENS studio. Alright, I am here at the MOOTENS studio, and I'm going to show you my whole process on how I edit Aimee's photos in Lightroom, so let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so the first step that I usually do is that I import all of the photos from the SD card into the computer and back it up right away to make sure I don't lose any of the photos. And for me to sort my favorite photos that I would want to edit, I would move them in the favorites folder that I make. And then from there, I would import those photos into Lightroom. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you that process right now. Alrighty, after several minutes choosing out my favorites, it was about 41 photos that I've chosen, and now I am here in Lightroom. As you can see right here, always save it as RAW and JPEG. I usually do both, but RAW is so much easier to edit, especially in Lightroom and in Photoshop, because you could get the full pixel details when you're editing, okay? Since I've imported all 41 photos now, I am now going to edit it. So I go ahead, I'm in Library, I'm going to develop. And so the first beginning steps that I do is I usually change the highlights, the shadows, the whites. Oh, and also before I do that, I always go to lens correction first, and I click enable profile corrections. And wow, it has done it automatically. And so for that, it keeps it to its true form and definition in terms of its pixels accordingly to the lens and camera that I use. So yes. So that's the first thing I do is the lens correction. And then now I'm gonna go ahead and finish with the basics, highlights, contrasts, shadows, whites, blacks. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Alrighty, next thing I do is I play around with the HSL and color, which is that's the hue, saturation, and luminance. And usually I mostly play around with saturation and luminance, so I adjust the reds, the oranges, yellows, especially like the oranges and yellows for the skin tones. And if there's green in there, I usually take out the green for my kind of aesthetic, and then play around with the blues, the purples, whatever colors that is within the photo. So I'm gonna go ahead and play around with that next. All right, the next thing I'll do is I'll also play around with the split toning. And so for this, it's in the section where I sometimes would play around with the highlights, the hue of the highlights and the shadows and saturation, etc. So that's what I'm gonna do now. So what I've done right now is that this is the before, where I added the highlights. I added a little bit more orangey yellow hues and saturation to the highlights to kind of give more life into her skin, since in the original photo as you can see, import, it's a lot flatter. And so first I changed up the highlights, saturation, everything, and now doing the highlights with the split toning, I'm adding a little bit more color to it, looking like that, so her skin could look a little bit more lively in the picture. All right, the next step that I will do is I play with the details, the sharpening, the noise reduction, and just to play around with that, depending on like how sharp I want the picture. Since the image is pretty sharp right now, I want to increase some of the luminance to get rid of some of that noise in the picture. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do right now. Okay, and that's pretty much it for Lightroom for this image right now. So as you can see, I did some slight lighting changes. So this is the before. It was super flat. It did not have a lot of color in it. And then this is after. So I brought some lighting and color into it. Especially I brought out more of the shadows and the highlights and then some of the colors of the skin so it could make it look more skin and coloring and lively, but not too drastic where I'm changing her skin tone. And so yes, that is pretty much it for Lightroom. Alrighty, so here are the final 41 photos that I've edited all right here. And that is it for this editing process. So please comment below and let me know if this was helpful to you in regards to editing photos in Lightroom. And also if you want to see more topics, videos of me doing these editings as well. So yeah, please comment below and I'll appreciate you liking and subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to hit that notification button. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye!